Anyone who's ever had to move knows the pain. So just imagine moving an entire railroad.
Essentially, if it's not nailed down, it's moving.
Actually, even if it's bolted down, it's going.
We're moving rail, we're moving ties, we're moving signals.
It's a moving party for this historic 1/3 scale steam railroad, a long-beloved institution at the Swanton Pacific Ranch in the Santa Cruz Mountains near Davenport.
Since the railroad was moved here by Al Smith and his friends in 1979, thousands and thousands and thousands of volunteer hours have gone into this place.
To take you back to the beginning of the line, the Overfair Railroad was built for San Francisco's 1915 Pan-Pacific International Exposition. Once the fair was over, the engines were eventually scattered to the winds. Al Smith, a founder of Orchard Supply Hardware, pieced the collection back together and founded the Swanton Ranch, where the trains were lovingly operated by volunteers. When Smith died in 1990, he left the railroad and land to Cal Poly University, which continued the tradition. But then in 2020, steel and iron proved no match for fire.
In August of 2020, the CZU Lightning Complex fire came through the Swanton Pacific Ranch. It burned down the roundhouse, the car barn, the car shop, most of our facilities.
It was heartbreak for volunteer Molly Engelman, who's been around the railroad since she was 3 years old.
It was a terrible loss.
And then another devastating blow last year when Cal Poly announced it no longer planned to restore the railroad, but rather donate it to someplace else.
The biggest fear was that it was just going to disappear without anyone knowing.
But fear turned to joy this summer when Cal Poly notified the volunteers it had donated most of the railroad to the Santa Margarita Ranch in San Luis Obispo, a site that already includes the Pacific Coast Model Railroad.
Of all the possible outcomes, this is one of the best ones. There's a disappointment that it's not staying here, but we've had 3 years to cry over it. This is a new chapter.
Which means the railroad, its tracks, its intact and fire-damaged trains are headed to the next station.
Oh, it will rise again from the ashes.
Among those hoisting big pieces and even bigger dreams is Jeff Badger, general manager for the Pacific Coast Railroad at the Santa Margarita Ranch, who will help oversee the restoration.
Our ultimate goal is to get the whole band back together. That means all the locomotives and replicate a lot of the cars that were lost in the CZU Lightning Complex fire.
Badger says the ranch already earmarked a site for the Overfair Railroad to run and will lean on its faithful volunteers.
I think choking up the last rail right now.
Among them, people like Engelman, who are ready to see this train back on track.
It's a new chapter, but the book's not over.
Rosato Jr.
The story's still going.
NBC Bay Area News.